Welcome to this course. In this course, we are going to have 10 sessions where we will learn how to analyze data using Python in Google Colab. You don't need to download anything. All you need is, first of all, to log to your Google account. If you don't have one, create it. And once you've done that, you should go to this link, collapresearch.google.com. And if you've never used it, you may need to activate it. Once that is done, you can just use it. So if you take a look, I've logged to my account, and right now if I come here, I can just go to collapresearch.google.com and I'll create a new workbook. And here we go. So right now I'll come here, I'll just double click and I'll give it session 1. So this is the first session of a 10 series workshop. By the time you are done with the 10 series, you should be very comfortable analyzing data using Python and Panda and all the related packages. Okay. Session 1, we will simply introduce this framework and also introduce the language Python, which we will be using in a data analysis. Now, generally, you can just click connect here. It's going to connect to a new runtime, or when you run your code here, it will automatically connect. And you can see here, we are using Python 3. There are times when you may need to change to a different language, but that will not be the case in this workshop. So let's start. You can see I'll just start, for example, by entering variables. Now, just to say something, generally, if you need a comment, you need a hashtag, then you can provide a comment, then the environment understands it should not take it into account. So the first thing I want to do, I want to look at some variables. Now, what are variables in programming? Variables are like containers for storing your data values. Okay, so for example, if I want to provide my age, now there's one thing. Generally, if you want to provide the name of a variable, really use something that makes sense, that is easy for you when you come back 2 months later to really understand what you were doing. So let's say my age is 20, and so this has stored my age. So 20 has been stored in this container called my age. And now if we want to take a look at it, we can just use print, and I'll put my age in there. And the way to execute this, or to see what is there, you can just hit Control Enter, or you can use Shift Enter. But the best is to use Shift Enter, because if I hit Control Enter, let me just do it, you'll see Control Enter gives me the output, but I don't have any cell to continue. So I have to come and click here to enter a new cell. However, if I hit Shift Enter, then it executes it, I see the output, and then I have a place to move on. So you can see this is a numerical variable that I used here. I will move on to a text variable. For example, if my name, let's say my name is Peter. Now, if I write it like this, I may end up having a problem. So generally, I should put it in between quotes. So my name is Peter. So when you are dealing with a character variable, generally put it inside. And then I can do the same thing. Print my name, Shift Enter. There we go. So I will no more say Shift Enter. I'll just do it, and then you'll see it happen. We are going to take a look at the forming data types in Python. The first one, hold on. The first one is the integer data type, and You can see here we are saying for the integer data type, it's simply a whole number. Okay, so let's go with an example. So let's say they count the students. I'm going to use, the way I'll label my variables, I'll use what we call camel case, where the first part is lowercase, the second you have an uppercase. Let's say this course has 50 students. Print. Now, just to make things interesting, you want to print it, you can say number of students. Then what I'll do now is okay, let's create a bit of space, put a comma, and then student count. Once I do that, you can see it has printed it out. Now, if we want to see the data type of student count, we've said it's an integer because we are using a whole number. So we can also do print. In this case, we are going to use type and then put student count within it. And I'll just hit enter. And we can see the type is int, it's an integer. So let's try exactly what we just do this with the next data type. The next data type is a number but with decimal. So I'll just say float. So for float, we are dealing with decimal. So for example, I want to say item price. Let's say it's 19.99. And now we want to print comma item price. And then I also want now to see the type. My suggestion is that you watch the video at a faster speed because I generally do things slowly. Just increase the speed to 1.5 and you will still be fine. So you can see it. Here we have the float data type. We are going to take a look at the string type. So I'll say hashtag, and then we are going to take a look at the string data type where we are using a sequence of characters. For example, I'll say greetings. And I'll put it within the quotes. I'll say good morning, print greetings. And then print data type of greetings. Now, why is type important? When you start analyzing data, at times you need to know the data type you are dealing with for you to know what to do with it. Else, you may try to calculate the average of a data type, of a data of type string. Then you will have an error. You now need to cast it or to convert it into a float or an integer data type to be able to run your analysis. So type is pretty important because as we start analyzing data, it's important to know your data type to know what you can actually do with it. So shift enter. Here we go. You can see it's of the class string. So now we are going to look at the last one. For the moment, we will look at the Boolean. So when you are looking at Boolean, you are looking at basically truth values. It can either be true or false. So basically, you can have true or false. That's just the idea behind it. So we want to check maybe if someone is enrolled to this course. So if they are enrolled, we will have true. If they are not enrolled, so, or let's say they have completed. So is enrolled, it can either be true or false. Then completed, if completed the course, it can also be true or false. So it can take any of those values. Okay, so let's print. And let's look at the type. So you always have to put a comma before you have the variable name. Actually is completed, not enroll. So shift enter. So you can basically change whatever you want. This is just a container. You can put any name you want for the containers. So for the names of the variables. Now we are going to look at some arithmetic operators, and let me just give some variables. Let's say A is 10, B is 3. So we are going to use these variables to play around with. Let's say A plus B. A plus B, you can run it and you'll see that you have 13. But most of the time we need to keep this inside a container. So here, for example, I can say addition result. A plus B. Then I can print it out. So I can now say print addition result. The next thing is so I will say subtraction result. Here we will have A minus B. And we can have print The next one, we can have division result, and you can have A divided by B. Then we can have print diff result, and then we can go on to have exponential. Now exponential, you just use double star. So we have A, you use double star. Let's say A to the power 2. Okay, that is square. If you want to go to the power 4, it's going to multiply it 4 times, but you always use double star to raise it to that power. And then we are going to have print x result exponential result. There we go. And finally, let's say mult result. There are more, but we will stop it at there because you understand the gist. So we'll say A multiplied by B, and then we'll do print Now you can see every time I do things, it gives me some suggestions. It's simply something called IntelliSense. It understands what you are trying to do, and then it tries to suggest what you are doing. Let's see if we have the correct results for all. So A plus B is 13, A minus B 7 divided by 10 to the power 2, that's it. So you can simply use it as a calculator. Those are the arithmetic operators. Now let's take a look at the comparison operators, which are also very important. I'll just say comparison. Okay, here we go. I'll just run them inside print so that it just helps us save time. But before I do that, let me just define a few variables I'll just use A and B. I'll continue with what we had already. So for example, if we say A equal B, you are comparing, it's going to tell you. So if I run, it says A does not equal B. Why? Because we had defined A as 10, B as 3. Okay, so let's just continue below this one so that we have all our comparison operators here. So we will do print again, and we run the next one. The next one, we simply want to see if A is different from B. How do we do that? So for you to have different, you have B. In this case, we have A equals B. Now you can put space, doesn't matter. Is A equal B? Is A different from B? Let's run the next one. We want to see if A is greater than B. So A, is it greater than B? Hold on, what's going on here? Print, is A greater than B? The next one, print, is A less than B? And the next one, print, is A greater than or equal to B? And print, is A less than or equal to B? So we can run all of that. Now try to answer it before running. We know that A is 10, B is 3. So we know this is false. We know this is true because it says they are not the same. Here it says is A greater than B. We expect true. False. Is A less than B? No. Greater than or equal? Yes. False. So let's run it. So you can see, yeah, it's true that A is different from B. It's true that A is greater than B. 10 is different from 3. 10 is greater than, and so on and so forth. So those are your comparison operators. Right now, let's take a look at some variations, how to use the print function. Okay, we've been using it. In French, we will say afficher à l'écran. So it's going to print it. For example, let's just print this simple string. So I want to show you different variations of how to use print. Let's say this is a simple string. Once I run it, it prints it. Now let's say name. We have Bob, and age. We have 20. Now I can use print here as we did before. Now remember, inside print, if you want to make a statement, you should use the quotes. You can use double or simple quotes. So I'll say name, and I'll give myself some space, because if I don't give that space, it will be so close together. I'll use a comma. If you want to use such an approach, use a comma and then name. Name is simply the name of the variable you used here. Whatever you used here, that's what you will use there. Now I want to do the same for age. So I'll say age. So you can even say my name. Okay. My name is, and here you can say my age is. You cannot, given that it's a statement, we should not be using that code. That's just grammar. Age. And if I do shift enter, that's it. Now on the other hand, if we, let's say we get rid of this. Okay. Actually, it's okay. Fantastic. Now that's just an approach of using the print function. Let's take a look at another way of playing around with print. So I'll just throw in print here. And we can see that we can play around with this thing. For example, my name is, I don't even need a space, comma, I put name, and I can have a comma here, space, then I can say, and I am comma, and I put age. All. So you can see I expect that it should have my name is, it should put Bob, and I am, I'll say yes, all. I expect it should put 20. So shift enter, my name is Bob and I am 20 years old. So you can play around with it from that perspective. Now, actually, you can even add something to it. Let me just copy what we have here, and I'll add another twist to it. So now that we have it like that, I can actually use what we call formatted string. So we will not be using all of these things. We will use F. So we'll put F actually there and produce the same thing, but you'll see that we can even do some calculations within. So we always start with F, and then that's it. Then you can play around with it. So now, for example, I can say my name is, given that I want to introduce a variable inside my quotes, I will use the curly braces. So once you use the curly braces, you can say name. It will introduce the variable within. So I can say, and I am. It will put 20. Yes. Cool. Now I can continue. For example, I will say next year I will be. I can come here, say age plus 1. Okay, so I can even run do a little computation within those braces. So now let me just do Shift Enter. So you clearly see here we have my name is Bob and I am 20 years old. Next year I will be 21. So at the end of that we can put a period, and there we go. So that is it. I'll just show one last thing on that.